And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the 2-Point Conversion NFL DFS podcast. This week, we'll break down the 4-game divisional round DraftKings slate. Just two of us this week. You can find me on Twitter at BDentric, and I'll be joined by the man that loves those free money entries given out by DraftKings every month. Find him on Twitter at Pater_DFS. James, how we doing?
Man, I am doing very well. It's really cool to have infinite ROI on one of those free rolls and take it down. That was really, really cool. I have to send an apology to John Aguilar, who I gave just endless shit to on Twitter for like a week.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it paid off. It was great. If Funchess catches that touchdown in the end zone at the end of the game, I probably make $20K instead of 12. But I'm not going to complain about stuff like that. It's a cool hit.
Yeah, especially when it was free. So that's pretty darn awesome. But hopefully we can make some more money this weekend. Did you get to try that the showdown, the single game with the IDP players at all?
I didn't. One of my friends did. I tried to give him some advice on it, but I don't know if I'm good enough at IDP to be good at it. Did you try it?
Yeah, I just kind of broke even. It's tricky just because it's just like any IDP league. You can go for certain things, but you kind of need to play the tackle game because you can't really predict the fumbles and the turnovers and all that. So I play more the tackle aspect of it, but that's where they charge you the most money. So go figure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my general idea was going to be to in cash. You're right. Yeah, defensive lineman would probably be the smartest idea. I thought about that, and then. In tournaments, like going with, man, I don't know. The pricing was really tight on it, too. It seemed like they did a really good job on the pricing. So it's an interesting concept. I do hope that they carry it forward. But, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing.
Yeah, it's a really, really good concept. I hope they keep developing it through the playoffs and the next year. I'm actually hoping they can almost make it like pick your game, like make at least more than one game. I know it's only 4-game slates are picking one, but maybe on a regular Sunday they'll give us a couple to choose from or something. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But we'll see. Let's get into this. I'll start with the first game on Saturday, 4:35 p.m. Eastern, Atlanta at Philadelphia. Atlanta off that big win in LA kind of shocked a lot of people the way they did it, at least. And they go into Philadelphia as 3-point road favorites. Totals around 41 to 42, depending on your local source. What are you liking in this one, James?
I don't think that I'll have a lot of exposure to this game. I respect Atlanta's defense more than I think most people do. It's one of the reasons why I faded Gurley last week. Atlanta is a good team. They have very, very fast linebackers. They have a lot of speed on that defense, and they are well coached on the defensive side of the ball. So that matched with Nick Foles over on the other side, I think that Atlanta is probably a good favorite here. If it was Carson Wentz on the other side, I would think that it would be about a 4.5-point spread, 4 points, maybe something like that. But these are two pretty evenly matched teams. The difference is really at quarterbacks. Matt Ryan against Nick Foles. I think they have similar weapons. Julio Jones obviously better than Alshon Jeffrey, but if we look at it from an overall standpoint, like the Atlanta Falcons' weapons aren't as good in depth as the Eagles. So from a DFS perspective, I think this game will be close, but I don't think it'll be super high scoring. I think the way that Philadelphia attacks Atlanta is by going a lot to Nelson Aguilar and Zach Ertz. I think that Alshon Jeffrey is mostly bottled up. I think that Torrey Smith is mostly bottled up by those Atlanta cornerbacks. I can't touch the Philadelphia running game because we have no inclination of where they're going to go. I think the most talented back on that roster is Jay Ajayi, but do they use LeGarrette Blount in the red zone? Do they give Corey Clement some passing downs? I would much rather attack different running back situations on this slate than go there. But my favorite thing for Philadelphia is Aguilar and Ertz. I'm not going to touch Alshon Jeffrey. On the other side, it's another opportunity to probably get Julio Jones at low ownership. I mean, when we have Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette, I'm sure that Derrick Henry's price has jumped. I haven't looked yet. We have Tom Brady, who's really expensive. I think that Julio Jones is going to go under the radar again, and that was one of the things that made me that money last week was utilizing that. So if I'm going to play any piece of this game, it's going to be Julio Jones, Nelson Aguilar, and Zach Ertz. I don't really have any interest anywhere else.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. To me, this game outside of Julio, who I think is a great play, I agree completely. I feel he's going to go way overlooked because everyone's going to focus on the Pittsburgh and New England side of things for the most part this week. So I definitely like that angle. This game to me is more get your value in, kind of get your low owned value, and that's where like an Aguilar, who I like a ton, I've liked him all year, $4,800. That brings some nice value to me there. You can use the likes of Zach Ertz at 58. We haven't seen him that cheap in a while. I think there's a lot to like about that. Ertz and Aguilar, big time targets for Foles in his limited time, small sample, but that's where he was going. He was always nice. I do like Tevin Coleman as another value at 4,400. Last week, Freeman had 19 touches, Coleman 17, and you're getting quite a break in the price. So, like I said, it's pretty much just value for me. You got Coleman, Sanu a little bit, but Coleman, Aguilar, Ertz, and then Jones is the high price guy. If you want to get really weird, because I think, like you said, it's going to be a low scoring, slow game, go on a punt with the Philly defense at 2,600. That's one of your cheaper options on the slate, and that'll really let you load up on some of these offensive totals later on. So that's kind of the way I'd be looking at this one.
I was going to mention that. I was going to ask if you liked the Eagles defense 2,600 because that's a really nice price. I even think that you could go Julio Jones and the Eagles defense against each other.
Yep.
Because there will be mistakes made. So I like that.
Yeah, and that'll make you – I know we talk about it so often, but there's always new listeners and everything, that these small slates, it is okay to put a player against your defense, especially a player of the caliber of Julio, who can just explode but literally have all the production for a team for them, all the important production, and the defense can still flourish. So there's a lot to enjoy about that. But, yeah, we've talked Philly D all year, and for the quality of D they are, they have struggled the last month or so of the season as a whole. I do like it, especially with the total at 42, the second lowest total on the week. All right, let's go to the night game on Saturday night. You got Tennessee Titans at the New England Patriots, a likely angry New England Patriots after the ESPN article. We know how they handle anger against teams. New England is a 13-point to 13.5-point favorite. It keeps changing. Total's 47, the highest on the week. New England at this moment has a 30-point team total, which is insane for a playoff game. What's your take on this one? This has just craziness on it.
Yeah, Tennessee never should have made it this far. They are not.
Should have never made it to the playoffs.
No, they're not this. They're not a caliber team that is going to be able to hang with New England. 13 points is. I always think that 13 points is a little bit high for any game in the NFL, with the exceptions of two teams, the Patriots at home and the Packers at home. Those are the only two teams that I'm really comfortable with a double-digit spread. And with that being said, New England is going to be pissed off. Tom Brady's going to be pissed off. He's going to want to show that he's not like outdone or that he's not old or anything like that. I think that he's really going to try to push the envelope. Gronk is probably the healthiest that he's been going into the playoffs in the last 4 years or some insane amount of time. So we have basically a healthy Patriots team with Dion Lewis being Dion Lewis in the playoffs like he always is, mad Tom Brady, and this poor Tennessee defense that they're bend, not break, but there's only so much you can do when you're going up against Gronkowski and Brandon Cooks. You can defend that even with his own scheme. It's either Cooks over the top or Gronk over the middle. So this game's going to be really bad. I think New England probably wins 35-12 or some stupid number. I'm not sure if the Titans score a touchdown. With all of that being said, Derrick Henry at 7,300 is a conversation this week.
Yes, it is.
I'm not sure what to do with him yet. He has smashed when he's gotten work. He's a really, really good talent. He's a really, really good running back. He is way better than Marco Murray at this point in his career and should have been so. But at 7,300, can you use him here?
It's real tricky. It's because he's going to get that workload. The reason why I really want to use him is at that price. The question you're asking is most people are going to say no because they want to pay for Julio. They want to pay for the guys you mentioned on New England, some guys coming up. They're not going to be able to fit Henry in. He's going to be so low owned this week. It's kind of like the talk people had for Fournette last week, but I've never been big on Fournette. Henry literally gets the touches. They're using him more in the passing game than they have in the last few weeks. He's getting all those, and he's that back that gets better as the game goes on. So even if the game, as long as the game's within like I'd say even 17 points, they're going to keep giving Henry the ball one way or another is the way I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have another option behind him anyway. Like, he is definitely going to be the de facto back. I think that he's probably better if you're playing on FanDuel this week because his PPR upside isn't egregious. Like, I'd much rather have Dion Lewis at 6,600 than Derrick Henry at 7,200. But, yeah, it's interesting. Like, monitor some ownership because that could be some leverage if you think he's low-owned.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I'd use Henry because the ownership-wise, because otherwise I love Dion Lewis. I'd love to even save money and play Coleman or Ajay in the game we just talked about or some other guys coming up just price-wise. But there's something about that ownership that I don't care a ton about, but on a 4-game slate, if you can differentiate yourself just that much, as you noticed last week, that could be tremendous.
Yeah.
Are you done, or can I give a little spiel?
Yeah, I'll just give my main targets. Tom Brady is my main, and then if you can do a double tight end lineup with Ertz and Gronk this week, I fully endorse that. I don't usually say to use 2 tight ends, but I think that's a good idea this week.
This is a very good week to use 2 tight ends because I like Ertz. We already talked about. I like Gronk and Delaney Walker in this game. Walker continues when he takes the field. He's a double-digit guy week in and week out. He showed it again last week. There's another tight end coming up I like a lot. We're going to get discounted. So this is a week where the tight ends are very, very good, and they're very big focal points of their offenses. But back to the starting point, Brady, love Dion Lewis. Everyone's talking Burkhead, but a report from a beat writer today, left knee's heavily braced. I believe it's this left knee. It's messed up. Heavily braced up. He can't even cut on it right now. He tried to practice. It did not go well. So if he plays, it's totally limited. At worst, he vultures goal line touches. But we've seen Lewis. He's been getting passes and goes for 15 yards for touchdowns. He's a different back. So I like him a lot. Like Cooks, like Gronk. The key one that I like a lot, because he's healthy for the first time in a while, is Chris Hogan at $5,200. You're going to get a big-time discount, and if for some reason they focus more on Gronk, that still leaves the middle of the field open for Hogan. I like that a lot for $5,200. Only other thing on the Tennessee side, there's not a lot of cheap receivers this week. I know I was all over Eric Decker last week. Everybody hated me for it, but he got that BS touchdown that paid off. He's still there if you need it for $3,800. I'm not going to tell you not to use him. I've already heard a bunch of people in the quote-unquote industry saying, oh, no, you can't use him. You can't use him. I still don't mind it. But the guy, Corey Davis at $3,400, I know he's been letting people down, but literally should have had probably 3 touchdowns if he has a competent quarterback last week. He's going to keep getting looks in a game where they might have to throw it late. Corey Davis at $3,400 has tremendous upside. He still almost had 8 points last week. You're going to get him dirt cheap in this game, so I don't mind that at all. All right, let's go to Sunday's action, 105 Eastern. Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh 7-point home favorites. Totals around 41, the lowest total on the slate. It's a rematch of when Jacksonville went into town and beat that ass earlier this year. What do you got on this one, James?
Yeah, well, Antonio Brown is back. That's fantastic. That's great, grand dandy. He is the only wide receiver this year to have more than 100 yards against this Jacksonville secondary. The only one. And that's because he's a freak of nature. He's only 8,100 this week because the DK algorithm is still pricing wide receivers down against Jacksonville. So that is a legit conversation that you have to have now between Julio against Philadelphia and Antonio Brown against Jacksonville. Both good pass defenses, both freaks of nature, but I'm gonna side Antonio Brown here just because Pittsburgh is playing at home. Always home teams with large totals rather than have away teams with large totals. So I'm going to side Antonio Brown on this one. The other options in here, Lev Bell at 9,600 is fantastic. I think that Leonard Fournette at 6,900 is a better deal, though. He has not been getting the workload that he needs to, but his snap rate has still been fantastic. So I think that Fournette is still worth a shot at 6,900 if you're not trying to go with Dion Lewis, if you're not trying to go with Derrick Henry. I think that Leonard Fournette is going to be like very low owned really for this slate. I mean, we have the New Orleans running backs, we have Dion Lewis, we have Devontae Freeman, we have Derrick Henry. So I think Leonard Fournette is going to be really, really low owned here, and that's interesting to me considering Pittsburgh's inability to really stop the run since Ryan Shazier went down. So I like Leonard Fournette a lot. I like Antonio Brown a lot. Um, I can't endorse Bortles ever because he's awful, but Ben Roethlisberger is probably a decent option as well. There's a reason to play the Jaguars at 3,300 because they are 1,000 last week. I get that it's the Steelers at home, but that shouldn't be that huge a discount. They're still the best defense on this slate, in my opinion. So my main targets are going to be Antonio Brown first off, Leonard Fournette, and then Jaguars defense.
Yeah, I understand the Fournette call. I can get behind it. I've just never been a Fournette guy, but you're getting a discount, and ownership will be very low on him. So I get it. I love the Jacksonville call if you want to fade Pittsburgh because people are going to think they're sneaky by playing Pittsburgh instead of New England. So you can get really sneaky and play the Jacksonville defense and get that angle, or play like you talked about Julio in Philadelphia. If you can do, Antonio and Jacksonville, go for it because they're going to get each other. So that's fine. The only other player on Jacksonville for value is D.D. Westbrook to 44. Had a good week last week. He'll still get fed in this one. You can beat the secondary of Pittsburgh with those short kind of routes that D.D. can run and get the yards after catch. So I don't mind D.D. at 4,400. I like picking these quote-unquote bad teams or dog teams value plays because if they're behind, they're going to get targets. It's that simple. So you got to look at these angles if Vegas is right. Pittsburgh side of the ball, I agree Big Ben is worth a look. I'm going to go elsewhere, but I get it. I do like Antonio. Juju at 6K is another one I like, kind of how I liked Hogan in New England. Juju at 6K had a big game against Jacksonville earlier this year. What's your thoughts on Lev Bell at 9,600? Because that's ridiculously priced, but you can beat Jacksonville all day on the ground.
Yeah, I'm fine with him. He's the best running back on this slate by a long shot. Not to mention in the NFL. I don't know, man, because the Steelers have been so unpredictable on the way that they should do things. They haven't ran Lev Bell in situations where they should run Lev Bell. They haven't given Antonio Brown the ball in spots where they should give Antonio Brown the ball. So it's really hard for me to pay $9,600 for Lev Bell on this slate when, one, we don't have very many value options to open him up, and two, I would much rather get exposure to a New England game with Brady and Gronk rather than taking Lev Bell. So is he a good option? Yeah, but I don't know if that's like the optimal route to go on this slate.
Yeah, I agree. You can build some interesting ones. It's just I don't know if the upside's as big with your secondary pieces. So I agree with you there. Let's head to the final game of the weekend. And to me, this is the game to play if you want to be contrarian. Stack this game and be really weird with it. New Orleans at Minnesota. Minnesota 4-point favorites. Total's 46, just 1 point lower than the New England total. New Orleans got a 21-point team total. Minnesota 25. So they're expecting offense in this game, even though both defenses have been pretty good this year. What are your takeaways on this one?
Yeah, Mark Ingram is too cheap. At 5,600, Alvin Kamara is 7,800. I understand that Alvin Kamara is more explosive than Mark Ingram, but 5,600 for somebody who was a 1,500 yards from scrimmage back up against Minnesota, who is very, very good defensively, but I just think that that's too cheap, man. I do think that he's going to carry ownership because of that price tag, but that's a really nice price on somebody of his caliber of running. Say that New Orleans gets out to a lead here, like a good lead, and they don't need to use Kamara in the passing game. Like Mark Ingram's just going to rack up 18 to 20 touches, and at 5,600, that'll crush value, I think. The other running backs in this game, Latavius Murray, Jerick McKinnon, I haven't gotten them right all year, literally all year, so I can't speak on it. I think that Latavius Murray is probably the better running back, but I get yelled at every single time that I say that. So I'll say Latavius Murray, but I'm totally fine being wrong there. What you want in this game is a passing game, though, and I totally understand stacking it. Totally get it. I was going to say before you said it that this was probably the game that I would have the most interest in if I wasn't going to just be going with New England. I like Thielen, I like Thomas, I like Diggs, I like Ginn, I like all of those guys. Like I wouldn't mind just attacking this game environment by itself all day long. Drew Brees hasn't been somebody who has needed to throw, but when he does, he's still like a top 5 quarterback in the league. And people have forgotten that due to Kamara and Ingram. So I love stacking this game up and down. I know that you are going to like Kyle Rudolph coming off of his Greg Olsen sliced New Orleans apart last week, so I'm totally fine with that. I think you can attack this game in a lot of different ways. And what I probably will do in my single entry stuff is use New England as a base and then try to find value pieces from this game just in case it goes off.
I like that strategy a lot. You could like Ginn and stuff like that. I agree with your Ingram take. To me, he's this week's Derrick Henry, where he's in that price range right now. Everyone's just going to flock to him. Result. See, the thing where I liked Henry was he's by himself. We still know Kamara is going to get his, but it's still extreme value for Ingram, like you said. I like both the backs. Depends on how you want to structure it. But yeah, Thomas, I love Ginn. Ginn continues to get it done, and his price tag really, to me, is not where it deserves to be. He's like the Jarvis Landry of the Saints. It just never goes where it needs to go. And then on the other side of the ball, if you don't go Breeze, Keenum, I think, is a very viable option here. $6,100 when you got Ben at 62, Breeze at 63. Keenum will slide right in there at 61. I don't have a problem with it. Thielen, Diggs, love them both. Rudolph, I think, at 47 is tremendous. You can totally get these guys with your tight ends. I think it's a great play there. The only other thing I'd mention is Latavius Murray. I get it. If for some reason this does become a passing shootout, that's where you go McKinnon at 49. He's their passing game back. But other than that, I agree with everything you said. I like stacking this game. I like doing work in this game. I wouldn't be shocked if for some random reason points don't happen because they do have two good defenses. But this just has the makings indoor where all three of the other games are outdoors in like the northeast to northern areas where it's going to be colder. So this is your best environment for offense, and I like it a lot. All right, James, that wraps up likely the season of the 2-Point Conversion NFL DFS podcast. Any final words for the listeners?
No, man, this has been great. We've had a lot of good times. I think that this, as a first year of doing this, has been a really successful thing. Like, we've hit on a lot of good spots. I think we've built some good chemistry. We're going to be back next year, absolutely. We might have something put together for baseball as well, moving into that season. So this has been great. I appreciate you guys letting me into your lives, and hopefully we keep things going.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. You and Bucks, it's been a good three-way action. Everybody, I know James mentioned it last week. He has his broken bat spot. He had the Angels come out. I'll let him talk some more here in a minute, but I want to get my 2 cents first. I think it's really, really good. If you're not an analytics guy, he still keeps it very you can understand it. He's not one of those. He's not throwing it out there where it's really confusing. It's great information. If you listen to the DFS stuff I've done in baseball, he's right on path with a lot of the stuff I listen to. So, James, what do you got coming up in that?
Yeah, Angels, it took a little while to get it uploaded because iTunes wanted to wait all weekend to review it and approve it, but it's up, so you can go find it. The Broken Bat Breakdown podcast. I did the Angels last week, talked about Ohtani and that really young, awesome pitching staff. I have a lot of aspirations there, and tonight I'm going to record the Astros, and we're just going to go alphabetical all the way through until the season starts.
I love it. So, yeah, everybody check that out. We got a lot of work going on at Sports Degens. James is at over there doing his deal at Daily Roto, and he'll be doing it for his sports. And you have Bucks over there at Gup's Corner. So there's always good content out there. Check us out. But like James said, thanks for listening this year. It was a blast. We'll be back next year bigger and better than ever. So enjoy the weekend. Your divisional playoff is in the books, and we'll catch you guys next time.